Well, it's time for Africa Health Report, and joining us now is Africa 54 Health correspondent Linord Moudou. Hello, Linord.
Hello, Vincent. Observers say globally demographic dividend is pivotal for achieving the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. The United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA, says the demographic dividend is the economic growth potential that can result from shifts in a population's age structure. It also says countries with the greatest demographic advantages for development are those entering a period in which the working age population will have a low proportion of young dependents and the benefits of good health, among other things. Youth are about half of the population of sub-Saharan Africa, and observers say ensuring the well-being of young people in Africa is critical. Access to family planning and tackling diseases like HIV/AIDS are some key steps to ensuring their well-being. Now, joining us live from the United Nations studio for more on the discussion is Mabingue Ngom, Regional Director for West and Central Africa with the United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA. Mr. Ngom, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you.
Mr. Ngom, please explain to us about the demographic dividend. How do we understand this? There are several key pillars in this concept. How can you help us understand this, especially when it comes to health and well-being of populations?
Well, first of all, it's a very complex reality, but let me try to explain it very, very simply. And I will take an example of a population of a nation that is predominantly composed with young people. This means there will be a lot of fiscal effort to take care of the need of the young people, be it health, education, safety, and so on and so forth. In contrast, if you look at a population that is predominantly with people that are working age, there will be a less tendency to spend more on taking care of those who cannot work. So in the second case, you have an ability of the country to make savings and to invest and to create employment and generate, additional productivity. While in the first case, there will be a tendency to spend much of the income in every house in consumption. So these are really the two basic cases. So in Africa, currently, you have a large number of young people. This means the fiscal effort in every household is predominantly going to consumption. If, for instance, we invest in harnessing the demographic dividend, that is the case we are working currently with the potential we have with the largest cohort of working age people in Africa, I think we'll be able to generate, I think, some significant boosts in terms of development of the continent. So the additional productivity is what we call the demographic dividend. So in contrast with the first case, where you have a large number, a significant effort going to consumption, in the second case, you have, because of the dependency ratio that is much lower, there will be a potential for growth.
So let's talk about the priorities when it comes to the well-being of the youth, given that they comprise more than 50% of the population in Africa. If we were to narrow down to health and well-being, what are the priorities right now?
I think the priority will be health, education, employment, and investment in the skills. Because as you know, today you have, for example, crisis in the Sahel, you have crisis in the Lac Chad Basin, and the youth crisis in Africa is all about a crisis of lack of opportunity, lack of hope. So unless African young people have opportunity for education, opportunity for skills, and opportunity for employment, they will be easily manipulated or instrumentalized. And I think it will be really an open door to all kinds of violent terrorism. Because today, when young people fail to migrate, that is today the only opportunity they have. When they fail and return home, now they're exposed to all kinds of manipulation, including manipulation by terrorist groups.
The demographic dividend also look at the relation between economic growth and the decline in fertility, of a country's fertility. So that leads us to the issue of family planning. Can you quickly tell us about family planning and the youth?
No, I'm glad you raised the issue of fertility. Because very often there is a confusion when we talk about demographic dividend. People think that it's about the size of the population or the growth of the population, but it's about the age structure of the population that is determined by two factors. One is mortality, the second one is fertility rate. So as we invest in health and as we make sure that the women have access to family planning and can make an informed choice and are sure that their children will live longer, so they do not need to have, a large number of children, things become much easier. So the relationship between family planning and harnessing the demographic dividend is very, very, very close.
Okay, Mr. Ngom, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
And that was Mabingue Ngom. He is UNFPA Regional Director for West and Central Africa. And that's our health report for today. To stay in touch, find me on Twitter at Linord Moudou.